The COVID survey. It's hot in here. Yo, 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 we are here in the building. Everybody come on in, hit that like button, hit that share as we settle in and get this thing started. We're about to kick this show off in just a few moments. Man, how's everybody doing tonight, man? Crew, how y'all doing, man?
It's a good day. It's a good day.
It's a good
Yes, sir.
day.
Just chilling,
Yes,
having a
sir.
good time.
It's Monday, so you know what time it is.
It's kicking it. It's kicking it time. Man, let's go ahead. Let's continue.
Anybody got no snacks?
What's the energy at? Come on, Shay. Where's the energy at? Croc kicks.
Energy.
I thought anybody got any snacks, bro?
Kick it.
This is the second. This is the second half. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Man, come on, bro.
Let's get the
It's
energy
always
up, guys.
one.
I don't know why we got this guy started.
Where did we
Let's
get
get
him
the
from?
energy.
Listen, man,
Always.
we're here tonight. Thank God it's Monday.
Yeah. How was your
So-
weekend, guys?
It was a great weekend for
Yes,
me,
sir.
man. I was able to spend time with the family, had a great time at church,
Yeah.
and I've been looking forward to this show. It's been a lot of build up, man, a lot of anticipation. We saw what went down on was it yesterday, man? I've forgotten just that quick, man, what happened last night in the NBA Finals, man. But we got a dope show lined up for you. Got
It
some
was
great
yesterday,
guests.
brother.
some very busy individuals who took time out of their schedule to be with us, and we're gonna introduce them in just a few seconds. But let's go around and let's introduce ourselves and let's get this thing started. I'm Croc Kicks, man, aka Shade of Filet, the best salmon in town. I makes it, you know. So we in the building, man, and we ready, man. Who's next?
This is your boy Gio, you know, all the way from
What's
the
up,
bottom. You're on a delay, fam. You're on a delay. You're on a hard 10 seconds delay. But real talk, all the way from the bottom, 305. This is your pastor, your boy George, and we're just having a good time tonight. AJ's your go. Ted.
What's up, man? It's your boy Ted here in Orlando, man. We living it up. Glad to be here with y'all tonight, man. Let's get it.
Yes, sir. KP, the chap, Oakwood, live from Hunts Vegas, Alabama. Shout out to all my ladies, man. It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so just want to drop that in real quick. Next episode, I'll be wearing pink, so I'm just giving y'all the heads up. I don't want no funny business in the comments of the chat.
Major shout out.
Right. Yes, sir.
Man, I appreciate you bringing that, making us aware, reminding us of that. All right, man. It's time to get started. We want to just go around. We got some people in the chat room already.
Bring them in.
For those who have not done it as yet, there's some instructions on our ticker. If you want your comments to be added to the StreamYard feed, you just simply need to go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and go ahead and give your Facebook account the privileges, and your comments will pop up right here with everybody else's. All right. And we want you all's comments to do just that, man. We're ready to kick this thing off, man. Let's dive into the kicking it portion. And what kicks do we have lined up for today on the docket?
Yes, sir. I'm excited. Y'all know me. I love the ones, man. We got the Lucky Green Air Jordan 1s for the ladies. Fellas, I'm sorry, man. It's a tribute to Jordan 63 that he dropped on Boston in the playoffs. It's green. I'm loving it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm wanting to kick it before I finish the description, y'all.
Yeah.
Even in the inside, y'all got to get this. Inside the shoe, they've got the parquet inspired insole. Like the parquet floor from the Boston court is in the insole inside the shoe. I'm trying to kick it. I'm right now trying to figure out how to convince my wife that these are gonna get bought. So y'all pray for a brother because I'm kicking it hard tonight.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'll kick these two, man. They don't have my size. I don't got the bread for them, but I will kick it. It's a dope shoe.
Nah, I might squeeze my feet in these, y'all.
If I could kick it, I would. It's a very dope shoe. Green is one of my favorite colors, and in fact, I would, just the entire setup about the shoe, the story behind it, makes the shoe worth copying.
There go that 10 seconds.
Ted, you still on timeout?
And for me, I just know that Lucky Green color, a tough color to try to deal with. It's a lighter green versus that dark green. So I don't know, but we'll see.
And lawyers are so technical, man. They be so technical with it.
Picky today.
You know what I'm saying? I might start a petition though, for real, man. Get those insights.
Up next, man, the Nike Kobe. This is the 5, man, the Proto. And this is a dope shoe, man. I think this is entitled the 5 Ring. This is an echo. I got an echo. I'm not sure whose microphone is on. But these are the 5 rings. It's a dope shoe. It's a shoe that I personally would rock. And one of the things I love about this shoe, first of all, it's going to drop on the 5th of October. It's going to drop at a price point of $180. And this shoe highlights, catch this, the 5 championships that Kobe Bryant achieved. And he achieved these 5 hard championships, not jumping from team to team. Nah. He built something where he was drafted at. Come on, somebody. And this shoe, man, the dedication to his game, this shoe is a tribute to that dedication. And it also has some of the greatest technology that sneakers have. So this is definitely a kick it for me. I only hoop in Kobe's. And so this is something I would definitely kick.
That's what's up. They are definitely kicking it for me. What about the rest of the gang? How y'all feel about these shoes?
Yeah, I don't do Kobe's, man. I've been turned off since the Adidas spaceship looking joints. I don't do Kobe's. They're good ball sneakers though. I will give it that. But nah, I'm good on these, man. But I do appreciate the shade though, the low key shade.
Yeah, he did it.
Way.
He ain't jump. He ain't team jump. You know, he ain't do that.
Well, I don't think it's a shade if you're giving straight facts. If you're giving straight facts, it's not a shade. It's just. By the way, we're just predisposing our audience to what's about to happen in a few seconds.
Oh, it's going down. It's
we
going
wanted to
down.
make sure that we laid the case straight so people would understand.
Let me just say something to all y'all, man, who really
Here we go.
Stick to a team. You know, be a part of a team, man, and just stick to that thing, man, through the good and the bad. Stick with that team, man.
Listen, man, follow me as I follow the Knicks, man.
That's
not what the word of God says. It says follow Christ. Come on, let's get it.
And we're only talking about sports. We're not talking about ministry.
Let's get it together now. Listen, real talk. We have a group of esteemed guests, some of the best of the best. You've seen them on Sabbath mornings, and they can tear down a pulpit. But what may be unknown to you is that these guys are very knowledgeable, not only in dividing the word, but they're also knowledgeable in sports. And I remember my freshman year at Oakwood, right when this is going to date how old I am, because I like to tell people I'm quite young. But there was a church in Madison that was built. And I remember that as a Florida kid, I went into the sanctuary, and lo and behold, I saw some college schemes that seemed to be ungodly. And but the worship was off the chain. So every Sabbath, I had to close my eyes as I entered into the sanctuary. The Lord was good to me anyhow. And so we have some good guys. And one of the first persons we want to bring on is that of Dr. James Dargett, the great bishop of the Patmos Chapel 7 Avenue Church. Doc, how's it going?
Man, listen, all is well. And I understand why there's a lot of low energy going on to start tonight. I get it. Y'all just need to deal with reality.
We're hurt, Doc. We need some grief counselors right now. We need some grief counselors.
I'm happy for the Lakers.
It's going to be kind of a normal thing. And I know, Shay, to be quite honest, you were scarred as a child. I understand. Your dad messed you up a little bit, trying to shove a Laker hood down your throat. You did not eat it.
I actually was named after Byron Scott.
Huh?
I actually was named after Byron Scott.
You ought to be smiling when you say that. Look,
yeah.
I got one question. I know who's on the show tonight. I know who's running the show. My question is, why would you all deal with athletics and not have any athletes on?
Wow. We're about to bring some on right now.
I mean, we do have on the line our next guest who was USCAA MVP of a national championship team. All right. JD, Pastor JD, come on in here, man. Come on in here, man.
What's going on, family? You guys good?
We're good, man. We're good.
We're blessed and highly favored.
Listen to me, man. I need y'all to know that today is a very, very special day. We have a lot to be grateful for. I woke up this morning smiling, ear to ear, so wide I can eat a banana sideways. I'm telling you.
Hitting low before the bell.
I was excited. As excited as a pigeon with a French fry. I could not help myself.
Pigeon with the French fry.
Someone I heard it said today, how can we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? Strange land right now. It's a strange. I mean, we made it a series. But man, it hurts.
Did you say make it a series?
We made it a series.
We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on, man. I want to introduce these next two guys one at a time, man. These guys are dear to me. Part of the squad that I'm on now.
So you jump from team to team too. I see. That's all good.
Ministry is exempt here, man. First, man, Pastor Deblier Snell, man. Hometown Tallahassee. What's going on, man? Talk to the people, man.
Hey, man, I listened to. I agree. I concur that today is a really good day. Agreement with that. Listen, man, and I just want you to know, man, I have pastored in Mississippi and Kentucky, and now I'm here in Huntsville. And JD, the sign of a strong ministry is not that you can just grow one church in one location.
Come on.
If you can build something everywhere you go,
My Lord, my Lord.
you about something.
It is a good sign. It is a good sign. It is a
Thing
good
for
sign.
players to win in one city with one organization. But I'm just saying, you can
Man.
go everywhere and do a little something. You know, I'm just saying that's the kind of day it is for me. So I'm glad to be here with you all today. This is the best Monday I've had in quite some time.
We're gonna have to call Governor DeSantis.
Glad to be with y'all tonight.
Take away some Florida cards tonight. But, you know.
Man, and newly crowned, man. We got a new doctor in the
Yes,
room,
sir.
man.
Ah,
Dr.
ah.
Alfonso Green III, man. Come on in here, man. Congratulations to you once again, man.
Yo, what's up, y'all, man?
Talk to the people.
I see it's gonna be crazy tonight. Doc already wilding out, man. It's gonna
Already
be crazy.
before the bell.
But it is a good day. I've been rolling with my man Snell for almost 10 years now. This has been a LeBron James ministry.
My Lord.
We have been with him in Miami. We've been with him in Cleveland. Now we're with him in LA.
In LA, that's it.
And we've just grafted Shay in spite of his foolishness.
My God.
We've been consoling him, man, for the last few hours,
gonna
man.
come on my show and just
Hey, Green.
Well, Shay, how you put together
Green.
this panel? Shay, what kind of
Green.
discernment do you have? Like you have all
I didn't
four.
think this one through,
Hey,
man.
Green. Hey,
Yo, what's up?
me and you, Green, are LeBron and AD. We still trying to figure out who Shay is.
Yeah.
Danny Green. Danny Green. Danny Green.
Yeah.
Danny
All
Green.
right,
Let's
man.
go.
All right. I'm glad you all had your kicks and giggles, man. Great job. Great job.
Oh,
So
man.
listen, man, you
He's Danny Green right now.
God, this is good stuff. This is good stuff. We needed to laugh.
This is
So
good.
now that we've introduced everybody,
man.
we're going to get back to the GOAT talk in a little bit, but we want to kind of deal
Okay.
with some of the it things. You know what? A part of this show is that we want to make sure that we are responsible to the daily events and occurrences that are happening in our country. We believe in being socially conscious, and one of the things that we like to do is bring to the awareness of our viewers what's happening in our communities. And so I'm gonna throw this over to Mr. Dr. Lawyer Ted, who's going to help us out with this first item that we want to kind of just talk about right now.
Yeah, I'm hoping. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Something is going on real crazy over here. All right. Anyway, we're talking about Jonathan Price, man. And if y'all haven't heard about the story, Price was a young black man who was shot 4 times and killed by a cop. You know, and the thing that really want to hit on this story is that was an matter type of dude. He talked about how women, how he felt like he never. We had a friend once upon a time who told us that, you know, every black person gonna have they Negro wake up call. And unfortunately for Price, with him losing his life. So what we want to do is just talk about, if all lives really matter, then why wasn't he able to escape something like this? He was breaking up a fight. Cops came. Well, this cop came, trying to break things up. Been in 4 times before. It was also said that this cop had been terrorizing the neighborhood he'd been patrolling in for like the last 6 months. So the question is, do all lives really matter?
That's a very good question. Yes. Yeah. Go ahead, KP.
Anybody talk?
I'm not going
do
anywhere.
all
brother.
lives really matter?
If that's the question, then at face value, the answer is obviously yes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Are all lives being treated equally right now? Absolutely not. But I'll let y'all have it.
Well, I'll just jump in and just say this. I think one of the things that I think his case again highlights for us, and it was kind of mentioned in the debate. I don't want to get too far ahead, but you know, when you kind of rolling back the sensitivity training that officers are supposed to be getting, I think it's just because another example of people just not really being able to get a good read on stuff, and also just biases. Here's a guy, he's breaking up a situation. You're making some assumptions going into a hot situation, and somebody loses their life. And I just think the key is, man, when these things happen, it's just accountability, man. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all we're asking for. When these things happen, if it happens to a white person, if it happens to a black person, let accountability take place. But I think it's crazy that they're trying to remove that bias training. It's obviously needed.
Yeah.
And they got to do something about that.
Well, I think at the end of the day, I think we can expect these things to continue to happen simply because there is no legal deterrent, to stop these things from happening. There's been no recourse. There's been nothing that we've seen in the justice system that says to a police officer that I should, exercise caution or restraint. I can do it on camera. It can be on film. It can be obvious, and it can be blatant. And there's still not going to be any repercussions. So until there is, along with Pastor Green said, sensitivity training, implicit bias training, until there is a real deterrent, I think that we can expect to see these things. I think one of the things that blows my mind is I remember growing up listening to my grandmother and my uncles, my dad talk about policing, their experiences with police in the 60s and the 70s. And like one of the things that blew my mind is that, if Jesus doesn't come and I age and I get older, I'll be talking to my grandkids about 2020 the same way my parents talked to me about the 1960s and the 1970s. And it just shows that there is nothing new under the sun. And I think that one of the reasons we're here and there's this dissonance is because, we treat, racism and Jim Crow and slavery and Reconstruction like those things are our distant past. Like those things are years and years and years ago, when all of the things that were kind of landmark kind of events in the civil rights movement, whether it was Brown versus the Board of Education, the Voter Rights Act, or the Civil Rights Protection Act, these are things that have happened in our parents' lifetime. These are the stories that we have been told firsthand. And so the residue of that stuff is alive and is well. I just think that our president, he obviously pours gasoline on the fire. A lot of times people talk about him like he is the root. He's not the root of this problem. He's the fruit. It is the climate and the culture that produced him. He is the result of all of that. And I think that, he simply made it fashionable. And then he talks about it when somebody asks him about it. And this is the thing that trips me out about it. He always goes into a pro-police rhetoric, as if you can't be pro-police and anti-police brutality at the same time. And so he's polarized the conversation to the point where, like, if I'm against police brutality, somehow I'm against the police, and then it kind of splits the conversation and everybody shuts down.
Great observation.
Let me jump in on this and say I co-sign those things that have already been said. I lived during the 60s in Memphis, Tennessee, when King got shot. I remember the atmosphere. I remember how things felt. And I got to tell you, things feel a little bit worse today. Well, one of the things the president has done, he fires up the rhetoric. He throws fuel on the fire. We know that. We know what he's about. But beyond that, he has quietly put in so many judges that don't really penalize police who go bad. We know there are good police and bad police, but if there's no real penalty for it, I mean, good night. Breonna Taylor's, the ones who shot her, not even charged with anything of significance. That's kind of amazing. But the justice system is where the problem is. And I want to say this to everybody who might be watching, man. I filled out my ballot. And of course, while we're looking at the presidential race on my ballot, right down here where you used to kick it around, Shay, there were a bunch of judges on there that you had to vote on. I didn't know any of them. I pulled my ballot back, put my pen down, and I looked them all up. And for most of them, I voted no. Don't put them back in. Don't put them back in. Because when I see their background, some of the rulings that they've made, we got to be careful with these judges we're putting in. It just doesn't cost bad police anything right now, really, of significance. And that's the justice system. And Trump is really lying that system right now. And we're so bad off right now. I'll end with this little comment. that we got people who are brave enough to hatch a plot, kidnap the governor, and you have a sheriff that steps up and says, hey, well, you know, we don't really know. It could be that they were going to make a citizen's arrest. The law allows for that. But at the end of the day, we're in a bad situation, but we're going to have to start fixing it so that when you go bad, you got to face some of us. And we get an opportunity to give our brand of justice, because they're just facing their cousins when they go to jail, when they go to the courtroom. They're facing their cousins, and it doesn't cost them anything.
Yes, sir.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Jump in. I think of the conversations I have with individuals who are angry. And I think it's I think it's a good thing to be angry in these times. When you see injustice, the question you should be asking is not, God, will you take away my anger? It's, God, will you make me angry about what you're angry about? And when you see injustice, you should absolutely be upset about it. It should move you. And what is somewhat upsetting is in some of the conversations I'm having with friends and acquaintances, we're seeing this so often, it's almost putting us in a position where our sensibilities are benumbed. And it's dangerous, because you want to remain sensitive to these situations. And the questions that have been posed to me are, what can we do? And it's already been mentioned. Of course, we don't just have to sit silently in our anger, but there are things that we can actually do as it relates to exercising our right to vote and being educated about those who we are voting for and holding those in power responsible, to where there's a level of accountability, knowing that we're not going to sit on the sidelines during an opportunity like what we have right now, where we can actually make a difference by voting. I'm going to say that I'm excited, and I have a level of positive optimism as I am hearing from a lot of people. I've asked this question: have you registered? Are you planning to vote? I'm hearing way more yeses than I thought I would ever hear. So I'm excited that people are finally seeing, especially the younger generations, that listen, we have to do something about this. And that's kind of where my rhetoric tends to go. It's, guys, it's bad. We have too many options. We have so much to look at that verifies the fact that we are not living in a country that values our skin and values our contribution. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to do something about it. So what does that look like? That's kind of where the conversation that I've been having has been going off. And I'm just encouraging all of you, if you've registered to vote, I pray you have, make sure that you vote wisely and that you go out there and exercise that right.
If I could jump back in, and I think on top of that, one of the things I'll say is I think we've got to establish a culture of voting, because I think to that point, I think we'll severely mismanage our expectations if we think a change in the White House or on any level is going to change our reality right away. And so I think that, you know, what we have to prepare ourselves is for very incremental change, whereas if we kind of assume, because even when we look at the things that we're lamenting, those things happened when Obama was president, and those things are obviously preceded him. I mean, I think the first glaring instance of it that I recall was Rodney King back in like 1992 or whatever that was. But I just think that, you know, even as we vote, it's got to be cultural, it's got to be habitual. And I think we have to vote kind of with a marathon mentality as opposed to a sprinter's mentality. So I think even if there's a Biden presidency on November the 4th, I don't think we're going to wake up and see our world radically change. I think we could see a very vicious backlash to that that could show up in a very dangerous way. I think that, you know, especially if they get this other justice in, our world will pretty much look the same, you know, in a lot of ways going forward.
And I think that's what you say, Pastor Snell, is crucial. One of the things that kind of glared at me as you're speaking is not only the mentality of wanting to see change coming into effect from a gradual perspective, but also the mindset of to be aware of the mindset of extreme polarities, right? Trying to see if we can find some common ground where we are able to move in a progressive way as a larger unit than as a faction or a fractured group. And I think that's it. You know, my experience has been in these past couple of years. What I've witnessed is that so many different factions, and no one is looking for common ground. Everyone is literally running for the extreme polar opposites that they can find, and to be, and to literally harbor their thoughts, and to be in this ecosystem or this bubble of ideas that literally are that are literally being festered amongst themselves. And so definitely, I think that's what you were saying. I can see how progression in increments is good, but also I would hasten to say that I think it's good for us to find some sense of common ground, so we can bring along a lot of more people with us as we make those progressions. I don't know anything else, Shay.
Well,
go ahead.
I just want to throw in. I mean, I think one of the attempts of that, though, this was a number of years ago, but I don't know if you all remember, like the Covenant with Black America, some that Tavis Smiley put out with a number of different thought leaders in the Black community, where there's 10 covenants of issues that needed to be addressed in our community. So some of them was bridging in digital divide, others was dealing with the criminal justice system. I think there's been attempts at that. We just have to look at those things and galvanize. And I do feel like there are issues we are rallying around. To Pastor Snell's point, though, we get really hyped and excited about the presidential elections. When it gets to midterms and when it gets to our local elections, we're MIA. We're not there. So, I mean, those are what, to Dr. Dockett's point, those are the elections, man, that really impact us on the ground. I mean, all of them do, but I mean, if you get the wrong judges, you get the wrong sheriffs
on a day-to-day basis,
that joint is that joint's killing you. So I mean, we have to, just like Pastor Snell, I mean, we got to stay consistent, stay vigilant, and be engaged, not just in the presidential year, but every single time there's an election.
I think that's a good point to pivot at.
Okay.
We want to slide down to our next point as we deal with the portion, man. We want to look at the vice presidential debate. And I want to say this little piece, and then I want to, turn it over to our guests and some of our co-hosts. You all have heard us throughout the various episodes. We have some esteemed guests online. We want you all to hear what they have to say. I would just say this.
Thanks.
I think we saw two candidates and VPs that were better presidential candidates than are on the ballot, in my honest opinion. And I think one of the reasons why we're in the predicament that we are in now is because a certain party fails to produce young, vibrant leaders. And I think when you put two individuals up who have some questions in the previous election, it gives leeway for evilness to prevail. And I think we saw on this debate a bright star. Personally, I was impressed. And so I would like to see the Democrat Party put a little more time, a little bit effort into maybe moving away from the who's next in line, and develop some young, vibrant, or it doesn't necessarily just young, but some vibrant leaders. I'll say that bit of information, and then I'll pass it to our guests and our co-hosts.
Well, can I just weigh in just real quick, and sure. I'm not going to even be long. I actually don't. I think that, when you said that you had two people that were better than the presidential, I actually feel like, unfortunately, Vice President Mike Pence is just a more polished, sane face of the same insanity. Unfortunately, there was a number of lies that were told. He obviously is more controlled and a better debater, but I just think in a way it's a little bit more dangerous that you have clothed in what seems sane insanity. It's kind of reminds me of Chaplain Barry Black when he was talking about when there was like, the senators were just doing all this craziness. He prayed this prayer, and he said in the prayer, "Lord, help the senators to not try to appear reasonable while actually being unreasonable." And I just feel like that's what we have here. I don't think Mike Pence is really any better than unfortunately the president. He just is a more polished version of what we have in the Oval Office right now.
I can agree. I can agree with that.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you as it relates to Mike Pence, just to jump on that bandwagon. I read a book some time ago called, what was it, The Shadow President, discussing Pence. And when 45 got COVID-19, when he got sick, I was praying he would not die before this election.
That's true.
And Pence rise up. And I got to be honest with you,
He's more dangerous.
Me. If you listen to some of his answers, he's pretty much like Trump as it relates to race matters, for sure. He doesn't think that there's systemic racism in America. He wraps himself in religion in such a way that he's very appealing to a large number of people. And this is the kind of guy who scares me, because he has this kind of universal appeal. He wraps it in religion in such a way that he can take morality and set it to the side and still be very religious and seem to represent something very good. He's scary to me. Trump is raw. He is raw. And when you support Trump, I just think that says a lot about you. But I think you can be very innocent in supporting a guy like Pence, who, especially with our theology, I know this isn't a theology show, but with our eschatology in particular, that dude scares me. He is so pious. I have to be honest. Can I speak in the flesh right now?
Please.
In the flesh,
Go ahead and talk, Doc.
Yes, sir.
Let me speak in the flesh. I want to punch his smug face sometimes. Just his tone irked me.
You gotta lay hands on an enemy, baby.
Hey man,
It's so
Doc
phony
was
to just-
angry. He was angry.
I just wanted to punch his smug face. So pious, but so evil with some of the types of policies that he promotes and the way that he gives that support to Trump, with all that's anti-Christian about Trump and his policies and the way he conducts business. Man, that's just scary to me, and I think that he has the capacity to lead a large movement. I would say to you, though, Shay, that I think the Democrats are developing some young stars that are beginning to rise up. I think that's where they are. I do not believe Biden will necessarily finish one full term. And with the debate, I am happy to announce that my opinion is that Kamala Harris can be president.
Amen.
Not embarrass us and can lead this country in a very reasonable way. She represented herself very well at that debate, in my opinion.
But you know, I think to play the devil's advocate, I think that the fact that she did so well, could be an issue for a lot of people who perhaps were okay with Biden being president, but are not ready to see a black woman sitting behind the Resolute desk. Because as you stated, Doc, a lot of people may believe the same thing, that Biden may not finish a full term, and so I mean, just something for us to think about and to maybe talk about. But yeah.
I just think when I looked at it, even as you kind of looked at it, I think, when you see Pence and Trump, I think they represent to a certain extent the prophetic duplicity that you see in Revelation 13. Just kind of one that looks like a lamb, but then
beast
speaks like a dragon. And so I think that even when you look at who, Trump is, like, again, there's no divorcing him from Pence. All he does is he says out loud all the conversations that happen behind closed doors. Again, he is simply the ambassador. He is the representative.
Yep. Yeah.
He is the alter ego. He stands out and takes all the hits because he knows he's made a very calculated, he has a very calculated approach that says, okay, y'all don't have to stand with me in public, but as long as y'all go to the ballot, in private and you cast your vote, I'm good with that. But my takeaway also, Dr. Daria, because I think there are times where I've kind of been a little bit ambivalent going back and forth about Kamala, just because sometimes I think we were so spoiled by Barack Obama. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, there's just this hangover, there's this shadow that it just looms so large that we want everybody to be that type of figure, not recognizing that he is a kind of a once in a generation leader, personality, scholar, the entire thing. But I think just listening to her think on her feet, react, respond, show courage, be pointed and direct in her communication. I think that validated a lot of things in my mind. At times I can be a little underwhelmed just listening to her give a speech. But just I think she thrives in kind of a contact, a verbal contact kind of environment. And I think she showed quite a bit. I thought she demonstrated herself very well. And I thought the other takeaway is that when it comes to the commentary on the debate, I think it just shows the double standard between black and white, male and female. Because I think, again, a black person, a female, just has to be so far and away above her white counterpart in order to be deemed as the one who won, or was the winner of the debate. But because I think she just kind of barely eclipsed, in a certain extent, that winds up being a loss. It just shows you still have to be far and away better to be equal. And that was one of my takeaways. I listened to the commentary after the fact, because Pence didn't show us nothing. He didn't say anything. He just lied. He just, stayed on those same talking points, whereas I thought Kamala actually brought something to the table.
Yeah,
Very good.
If I could just throw this in, and I think just for her though, honestly, I mean, there was a fine line she had to balance. She didn't want to come off too aggressive. Because I mean, you could see that was clearly the strategy, because there was a number of points where she could have challenged him. One that comes to mind was when they asked about what their plan is for healthcare. She could have easily challenged him on that. She kind of just stayed the course. I think the goal for that night was, can people look at her and can she be president? And she crossed that bar. She handled herself well. I mean, and if you've seen her in any of the Senate hearings, she could have worn his hips out. But she just said, nah, let's hold back. We don't want to show that Kamala today. We're gonna show.
We'll wait till later.
We'll wait till later. Yeah, I was trying to think of a way to say her name a little bit different, but she held back. She held back. It showed that Kamala.
Listen. I think that might have also been part of the strategy, though, because with the kind of lead that the polls are showing, that Biden
don't shake it up.
Just don't want to mess up.
Yeah.
Just want to get through a night without any major slip-ups, etc.
Right.
And without raising any new issues that can work against the presidential candidate. So I think she also did that. She couldn't come too hard.
Yo, Doc, you see George's shirt up there?
I had to show it.
I didn't see it. Let me see it, George.
Stop the flies.
Hey, but Doc,
but
Doc, you said something that makes me nervous, and that's their approach, though. I think that's like the equivalent of playing a political prevent defense. Like you got to go win the game. You got to go take it. Like, I just think that is a losing strategy. I think that's what Hillary and they did in the last election. It's got to be, they put the emphasis on anybody but Trump as opposed to our vision, that we have for the country. I think they got to push it all the way to the finish line, because this we're dealing with a force unlike anything we've seen, at least in my lifetime.
Well, if I could jump on that, because I want to suggest that, along with you, Pastor Snell, that playing that defense, it's like the Democrats are playing with rules that the Republicans refuse to even acknowledge.
Yes.
And it's not. I don't know if that's a winning strategy. Obviously, we're doing better in the polls right now. So they weren't trying to shake things up, but I'm with you on that. And one of the things I learned from that debate was, and it's just been even more indelibly, seared into my mind, that it doesn't matter what Pence said. The pundits suggesting that she had no substance. Y'all, I'm sorry, but I actually like to know what the other side is thinking. So y'all know what we did? Turned on Fox. And I wanted to hear what some of that commentary would be. And when I tell y'all the foolery, like one of the suggestions was that Pence came with such substance, and Kamala didn't bring any substance. She was just so surface. And what I've learned too, and one of the things that really it bugged me. And again, I come into these debates, and I kind of have my expectations where they are, but it still caught me off guard, and I don't know why it did, when Pence refused to. No, he didn't just refuse to admit that systemic racism was a problem. Right. The suggestion that there is systemic racism being a disrespectful suggestion, like the way he dealt with that really bothered me. But again, to you all's point that's already been established, his polish and poise, he's the best they have to offer right now.
Yeah.
And again, he brings that political savvy to to take the ideology that Trump again espouses, but he has the I don't know, he has the ability to take that stuff and to push it. And I again am like what you all have said. I'm scared of him in that he is that way. But y'all, I was more convinced than ever that the polarization is so real. It didn't matter what he said. It didn't matter what that man said. They were going to celebrate it, and they were going to demonize her. And for the president, I'm sorry, I got to throw this out. Call what did he call her? A monster?
A monster.
Come on, y'all. I mean, again, I feel like there are certain rules that are being followed that the other side of the aisle does not even acknowledge, let alone follow.
But they're playing.
And I'm hoping that. Go ahead.
They're not even playing the same game. So of course,
but
they're not playing the same game. I mean, so rules are out the window. The moment you see people having political rallies at the White House, I mean, it's a wrap. But I think though, the strategy, as it was mentioned before, that Biden his campaign is executing, I think it's a good one, because they're drawing contrast and they're showing America that you can still play by the rules, like the rules of the game. And I'm gonna keep it 100. I believe that he is going to win. And for me, I think justice is going to be that he'll be able to say that I respected CDC guidelines. I wasn't out there having rallies. That he won, and he was not there necessarily when the 4 or 5 was in the hospital. He didn't have his negative ads out and about, and that he literally stuck to the hardcore facts. And so for me, I think that's a good thing that he is playing. They're playing somewhat by the rules, because for 4 years we have seen so much deviation from the norm that what is strange now has become normalized.
I see Snell leaning in, so let me jump in here before he jumps in.
Okay, let me jump in after you. Let me jump in after you, Shay. Before
I seen him leaning in, so
I'll wait till he's done.
Let me jump in after you, Shay.
I'll say this: I think playing by the rules may get us this election because everybody's just seeing Trump for who he is at this point. But I don't know if playing by these rules would beat Pence if he was in that seat. And so I think we got to go pedal to the floor, and we just got to blow it out of the water.
So when they go low, we go low too.
No, I'm not saying go low. I'm just saying the way in the methods and the rules and the whole strategy. We need new.
All right, so let me just say two things real quick, and I know Snow was going to weigh in. First thing, I do think, let's just be honest, for Kamala, let's just be honest, Doc, as a black person, dude, there's going to be a double standard. She knew, I'm saying, we wanted her to be more aggressive, but dude, she couldn't. She could not. They would have jumped on that thing. She basically executed a flawless debate for the most part, and they still found something, to JD's point. So I'm just saying, as a black person in America, and what Snell was saying earlier, we all know it. Barack Obama had to be, he had to be a generational talent just to get in. I mean, barely. I mean, dude, the joint had to literally be falling apart for the man to be elected. And of course, he's the amazing guy he is. He was a great president. But here's the only challenge, and I understand the Republicans, they're breaking every norm. And this is where I do feel like this is heading prophetically. So, you have the 4 winds of strife. God has been holding those things. But as these democratic norms continue to be crossed, and then the other side crosses those norms, you then no longer have a democracy. Okay. And that's, yes, if we want to, and I think that's where the Democrats have been, where they've tried to be more restrained, because if you cross this particular norm, then someone else is going to cross another norm, and then they're going to cross another norm, and then you no longer have a democracy. And that's why Nancy Pelosi keeps on always saying, as she's quoting, I can't remember who she's quoting, but here's the democracy if you can keep it. Because you basically have to respect norms. Yeah, we're not going to do this. And you're not going to do that. If all those things are violated, you lose a democracy.
Yeah. So I think the other thing that I think we need to remember. So even George, as you talk about them drawing a contrast between Biden and Trump, and them seeing Trump for who he really is. So I think the misnomer is that they're offended by what they see. Yeah. Again, I think they see somebody that is speaking up for them, that is giving voice to this anger, you know what I'm saying, that a certain segment of the population has, this frustration with the feeling that their way of life is being attacked, that they are being somehow supplanted by these values that are no longer going to make room for us. And so again, even when you look at the Republican National Convention, the rhetoric and the messaging was essentially about this group that is simply trying to attack our way of life. They're going to be anti-police. They're going to overrun the suburbs. You know, they are basically attacking the foundation of America. So even the idea that America was not found on racist principles. Again, the principles in the Constitution may be in theory based on equality, but the practices upon which America was established are just rooted in just white supremacy and racism. And so even this idea, this attempt to revive that propaganda machine, to just shove down the throat of the masses, this pristine America that is for and about all people. Again, I just think that it's very dangerous. I think it's not going to progress or move our conversation forward in any productive and meaningful way. But again, this contrast that we're talking about, I think the idea that the masses are offended by it, I think there's somebody somewhere that's like, yes, thank God, somebody finally said it. And I think if we look 4 years ago, at this point, Hillary had a sizable lead in the polls. You know, it was a joke that we even thought he could win. I remember watching CNN on election night, and they kept calling like Florida, North Carolina, and Wisconsin, and like on CNN, they were just like devastated because there was nothing in the polls that suggests that this could take place. Yet it happened because he was saying out loud. Now we can't stand with him out loud. You know, we can't stand with him in public, but he is saying and giving voice to our frustrations. And I think that's how we got where we are.
Hey Shay, can I get just 1 minute on this one? Snell, I agree with you on what you're saying. There are people who love what Trump is saying. They're not going to move out of his camp. They call that his base. But you actually, what the polls are showing, and actually Biden is pretty far ahead of where Hillary was last time, and in the right state. So it's also about geography, that electoral college. And right now, Biden is sitting pretty good. And I got to be honest with you, that it may not be racial issues alone that has gotten Biden some support, or at least has gotten Trump less support. It might be that women are tired of hearing his mouth, etc. But America, if you look historically, they don't continue to support chaos. They still like a degree of calm. And Trump has probably gone too far, especially with COVID. And I would suggest that I also don't like prevent defense as it relates to football, especially. They say it just prevents a win. But right now, I think the wise thing to do is not give some of those people in the margins who are saying, you know, we don't love Democrats or Biden, but we really are sick of this chaos. Don't do anything to suggest that you're bringing more of it. Chaos. So in that debate, if Kamala had come hard at him, I guarantee you Democrats would have lost some of that support, or at least some of those who might sit this out because they can't vote with Trump again with this kind of a world will go back on his side.
No, and I agree with you. There's no disagreement.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
So
it's a strategy that I think does work right now.
But like, so those people that say are turned off by Trump, do they vote another direction, or do they just stay home?
Just don't vote. I'm fine with that because, because there's a more energized black base this time, and I think a lot of black people sat out the election in 2016. That's not going to be the case this time. No, and without shenanigans, it's almost impossible right now for Trump to win based on the numbers and the numbers in specific states. And you can't ignore that. You can't ignore that.
The conversation has been great. and I don't want to cut it, but I know we have to go to the pièce de résistance in a little bit. But I wanted to say this: a few years ago, I went to a ministerial conference down in Huntsville, and one of the speakers, one of those breakout classes was talking about, how to manage your church. And I'm going to come from it. It may be apples, oranges, but hopefully we can find a linking principle. He was saying that, when you get to a church, there are three sets of that. There's three crowds. Your church is divided into three crowds. People that are going to be for the preacher no matter what he says. Then you have a crowd of people. You can say the sun is yellow, the sky is blue, and I say the pastor's a liar, right? And then there is that crowd in the middle that watches the validity of the pastor and how he operates, his words, his tone, does he come through on his promises, and the gist of that was basically, there comes a time where you have to look at that extreme group and say, we'll never be able to get them, but that group in the middle and a group that is already kind of pro minister is that group that you kind of want to see if you can create a working relationship with. And so that's kind of how I see this. It's not so much a prevent defense, but I realize that the Biden and the Harris campaign understands that there's a group of people, that base, they'll never win. They'll never make inroads in that base, that Trump base. But if they're able to deal with the moderates, with those who are even very conservatives, but are embarrassed by what has happened through their ability to not cross that line, not go beyond the norm, I think that they will make inroads. I think that, notwithstanding the whole electoral map, but just in terms of raw votes, I believe that they're able to maybe steal some votes from the other side.
Let me tell you, we on a show with a bunch of preachers, man. Because George, when you started with that illustration, I was like, how is he about to connect this thing? But brother, it connected, man. Did it connect? Had contact. It had contact.
So terrible. Can I say this real quick? I haven't really said much about the politics thing. I told myself I wasn't going to. I took a ton of notes during the debate. A ton of notes. A ton of notes. Like if I was doing it for class. I do think there's a lot of stuff we've missed. I don't think this hour, 2 hours is going to do us justice. And I'm going to say this as somebody who has historically voted Democrat and I guess, if you got to put me in a camp, I'm a Democrat. I do think the strategy is terrible. I feel disrespected as an individual when my party does not tell me what their plans are. When they get up and they say, we're going to win because he's terrible. I almost feel like they're insulting my intelligence by not giving me a reason to vote for them. They're basically saying you're in the bag. And as a person of color too, based on the narrative that's been thrown at us for the past 6 months, I feel like what they're really saying is we've already worn Kunte cloth on Capitol Hill, so we don't really got to say nothing else. I'm just saying that's my opinion. All right. In terms of Doc eschatology, and that's a whole other episode. I'm gonna be real with y'all. From an eschatological standpoint, we ought to be very afraid no matter who wins this election. There's a lot of things that were said in both camps that's very scary. A lot of people aren't talking about, and I'll just say it this way, is not necessarily like the conventions and the debates. We're not talking about the caucus meetings. We're not talking about the things that's said behind the scenes. It's a lot of scary stuff that's being thrown around on both sides of the aisle. I think we ought to just be afraid of what could possibly happen.
When you say afraid,
not afraid. I mean, I'm just saying, and I'll kick it back to what Snell said earlier. I think we ought to go into this voting season with realistic expectations. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of people who fool themselves into thinking when I vote, it's going to be the end all be all. Everything's going to change. Even from like the social justice standpoint, I think it's great to work out legal change and all that good stuff. But we've got to do more than just vote. We got to be change as well. I don't know how that's going to resonate. But, I feel like if you vote, but you don't go out into your community and do something, then you've kind of just wasted your time. It don't matter who you elect. You know what I'm saying? I think we ought to affect the life. One of the greatest grievances I have in general in our society is, people are being shot, but it's why? It's the utter disregard of a human life. You know what I mean? And I feel disregarded to some degree when my life is narrowed down to a vote. Like I want my life to count, and I want to go out there and make somebody else's life feel like they count as well. Not just to vote. I'm saying vote, and y'all already know voting is biblical. I preached that sermon like 3 or 4 weeks ago. But go out and vote, do your thing, but be a light in your community as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Value a life around the corner where you live, because that's how we institute change as well. Just vote, man.
We gotta stop right there, y'all. We gotta stop right there.
I'm done.
And man, what it's seeming like is, man, we need to have this crew on, man, again, man, to dialogue further, man. We would love to have you all on to kick it with us. It's been a great vibe. We want to transition. We want to transition to a lighter note,
transition
to some. Might be a little more serious to others. We want to get into this GOAT talk, man. This is something that we flirted with underneath. I see
Scapegoat? No, I was kidding.
We flirted with this during the Last Dance, but we wanted to bring in some loyal LeBron fans, some loyal Laker fans, and mix in, you know,
some loyal
some
Magic
people,
fans,
some loyal Magic fans, and then also mix in some people who aren't blinded by, you know, some of the stats that LeBron has, you know, who are able to see things clearly and who are able to remember history. We want to have this discussion, man. And so let's dive into it, man. Who is LeBron James the greatest of all time?
Oh Lord, you didn't sound the bell. You didn't sound the bell.
Ding.
So who are you asking the question to?
I'm tossing it out there for everybody. You know, we're not going to structure this thing. Jump on out there, man. Let's hear this.
Why don't you limit this to athletes and experts? That would be me and JD.
Here we go.
You're on to something. You're on to something.
Academy ball counts, man. Academy ball counts.
You're on to something.
Don't do that.
Shots fired right out the gate, man. Good night.
Listen, man. I'm going to say this, man. As a child or as a young man of the '90s, like I grew up, man, like everybody. Just idolizing Michael Jordan, the 6 championships, the whole shebang. This is all I'm going to say. Well, not all I'm going to say.
Right.
But I do think LeBron. Well, let me just say this: 2 things. I think people will understand this. So that, for instance, there is LeBron is the greatest combination of basketball skills we have ever seen. He is the best scorer, passer, rebounder, combination of basketball skills that we have seen in terms of demonstrating and carrying the load. I mean, listen, we're talking about a guy
that was smart,
who has led both teams in all statistical categories in multiple NBA finals. Like, you can't just sneeze at that like it's no big deal. And I think one of the things that has kind of happened to us is that when we talk about the greatest, I think number one, there is, when we're comparing Jordan to Michael, there is the aesthetic. Like, Jordan just had a smoothness, a ballerina-like quality to his game that was appealing to the eye. But I don't know if that necessarily means the best. So I think that's just kind of subjective. Like, if you like the way his game looks,
Johnny Cochran came from the dead.
I think that there is
I'm trying to get my babies blessed, so I'm not going to disagree.
Style of play. So, for instance, like and we see this in church, where there was a style of that one leader may have had, the way they did things, 20 years ago, and somebody may come in and do something that's just as effective, but they use a different method, in order to do that. And because we are despising that somebody shifted the method, we basically want to annihilate that principal leader as well. And so I think that we've seen LeBron come in and do it differently, not by being a volume shooter, but by being more of a team-oriented player, by trusting the team, building a collaboration, as opposed to just kind of functioning in his, as the center of his own world. And so, listen, I have great regard for Michael Jordan as a basketball player. But in terms of LeBron, he is the best combination of skills that we have ever seen that does it across the board. And then I think even as we talk about the LeBron hate, this is where I get a little frustrated, right? I think the establishment, the media, they basically have annihilated this guy simply because he took control of his career. Team owners are not in the business of winning championships. Team owners are in the business of making money. Like Dan Gilbert wins no matter what slop he put around LeBron.
That's good.
As long as that stadium was full and he was pushing those teams further than they were supposed to go. This guy took it upon themselves to say, listen, we're going to form a team in Miami. I'm going to kind of help wield my influence. I'm going to bring the same thing to LA. I'm saying as African Americans, I just think to take control of it and not allow.
Why would you go there? Why would you go there?
He reaching out, Doc. Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Argue with you.
Not allow the man to control our entire narrative.
Society we live.
Come on, Doc.
We ought to be celebrating that as opposed to saying, "Oh, he had to go here."
You can celebrate it.
What is the difference between Boston trading for Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen and them forming a big three from the organization standpoint, and the players getting together to do it, and they got a big three? It's the same thing. A big three.
It's a little different.
Don't do it, Doc.
Lakers getting Magic, having Kareem, drafting James Worthy, and you have
drafting.
It's the same thing. So all I'm saying is, let's not knock LeBron just because he didn't do it the way Jordan did it, or the way the Lakers were put together under Showtime. I'm saying in a vacuum, I can say with legitimacy, this is the greatest combination of skills. We say Jordan's a better scorer, even though LeBron scored more points with Jordan with like 1,000 less shots. And so I don't know if Jordan's a better scorer. I mean, LeBron's a more efficient scorer. But did I like the way it looked when Jordan scored better? Yeah, I did.
You have 10 seconds.
That's my thought.
Let me just ask.
We gotta get Pastor Snell's speech.
Don't do it, Pastor Dog.
A whole word. If I can ask Pastor Snell one question.
Yeah.
Does KD's decision, does that take a dent or a hit on his legacy to join the Warriors?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't love the decision. I don't think it hurts his legacy, but I didn't love the decision just because
he said the trap, Doc. He said the trap.
No, I'm saying, but if you look at it in context,
when he stutters, he gets even better.
No. They had the Golden State Warriors down 3-1. And they let the Warriors come back and beat them, and you turn around and join that team. So I just think in that context, I don't like it. If he had just joined the Warriors, if they had lost to somebody else, I wouldn't have hated it as much. So that's all. I mean, LeBron took that same team that was up against him 3-1, came back and beat them. So I mean, just to keep it in that context.
Different era. Let me just jump in real quick, man, because I know I ain't gonna get it. Because Pastor Dog over there itching, scratching his head. Listen, man, I think the arguments you use can actually be used against the argument, man. LeBron is from a different era. He's playing with different people. From he got to Cleveland, he didn't really have a team. He had to rebound. He's gonna get assists. He got to score. Who's gonna score? Who played with him in Cleveland? But Michael Jordan comes from an era where, and I'm not arguing for either way. I'm just saying against what you're saying. Michael Jordan comes from an era where we bring in Rodman to rebound. We bring in so-and-so to shoot. We bring in so-and-so to pass. He didn't have to do everything. I think Michael Jordan could have gotten better numbers if he had the LeBron mentality. If he came out of North Carolina being called a king, if he came out being sold as the hope of the NBA that's going to save the NBA and all that good stuff, I think he could have done the same thing. I'm not arguing for Jordan. I'm not arguing for Jordan, bro.
He's away. I was with you until the last third.
Your argument is that a mythical Michael Jordan would have been better than a real LeBron. Whatever he could have. He did what he did. And we're kind of comparing them that way. And by the way, y'all might be surprised to know I've been converted. First of all, when I looked at that pyramid, I had to smile because most of them wore the purple and gold.
Say it again, Doc.
Hold that shirt up.
Say it again, Doc.
Hold that shirt up, Doc.
Say it again, Doc.
That's bottom line. When you talk about the very best, you really are dipping into there we go. Knock Michael Jordan off that top tier because he doesn't belong there. Now let's look at the level here. Yeah. Only one of them wasn't a Laker. Only one. Yeah. And you got Kareem on the third level. First of all, there's
I'm not with that.
I don't know where it came from, some apocryphal basketball.
It is. I won't say.
Kareem got to be up there. Kareem got to be close to the top.
The thing is, Shay, you guys set that thing up like it's something official or something real. That's one of the most bogus pyramids I've seen.
Listen, man. It's the Mount Rushmore, dog. It's the Mount Rushmore.
You made brought tears to my eyes. Really did. I believe everything you said. I am with you 100%. The GOAT is LeBron.
Hold on.
Time?
The great,
LeBron.
even
LeBron.
Wow.
he's the greatest
Not-
Laker. He's the greatest Laker of all time.
He's not even the greatest Laker of all time.
Well,
Dude, he
I
just
disagree.
got there, bro.
I
It's his
said
second
he's the
season,
GOAT.
man.
He's the GOAT. Now let's talk about some of
You
this
talking
stuff.
about social justice and stuff
Hey,
like
man,
that.
you know
You
what?
talking about the whole package.
Shay, we can't let you do that. We can't let you set up panels no more, Shay.
First of
We
all,
can't let you set up panels no more.
Word.
Man,
This is
he
over.
done changed up.
Somebody
He done
said
switched
this
up
to me
on me.
today.
Go ahead, Doc.
I
Go
like
ahead and finish your thought, Doc.
Unappreciated because Shay's upset. That LeBron might be largely unappreciated because of the way he does what he does. He may not have the flair of Michael. I'll give you that. But we've seen another Michael. His name was Kobe.
Kobe. Yep.
We've seen another Michael. You're not gonna see another LeBron.
Yep.
You're not gonna see another LeBron. That man's gonna end his career #1 in rebounds,
Yep.
#1 in assists,
scoring.
#1 in points. Good night. What else can he do?
We had a
Dude,
pre-production meeting. I called you, Doc.
Hold on. Yo,
Let me listen.
I called you.
JD, go ahead. Go ahead, JD.
Hey, balance it out, JD.
This is rough.
Balance it out.
This is rough. I'm in such a conflicted position right now because we just won the championship last night. But
Tell
I'll
the truth.
tell you, so what are we doing? Are we giving the longevity award to LeBron James because he's been able to play at this high level for so long? If that's the case,
That's part of
absolutely.
greatness, though.
I
Nobody
got
made that argument though,
No,
man.
it's a part. That's what somebody just said.
I'm not saying. I'm saying on the panel tonight though.
Yeah, no, Dr. Dog just talked about how he'll end up with #1 in points and #1. Yeah, sure. Because
he
of
got cryotherapy.
My question is this though. I just want to ask it and see what you guys have to say. If you had to get a bucket, the game is on the line. Whose hands do you want the ball in?
He third or
Kareem.
fourth on my list. He
Kareem.
third or fourth, fifth, sixth on my list.
Because
Because he gonna pass. He gonna pass.
And that's what I was gonna say, Shay. I was gonna say, does he even want the ball in his hands? Does he even want the balls in his hand? He don't want it.
That's the wrong question. Go ahead, Doc.
Wait.
That game-winning shots in the championship series, LeBron's got more
than Michael
and Kobe
combined.
That's fact.
Okay, here's another point.
He's had more opportunities. What are we talking about?
Here's another point. So I think the question should be: if I have a team of scrubs, if my team is a bunch of scrubs,
yes,
and I had only one person I could pick to join the scrubs. Do I want MJ or do I want LeBron?
I want
I
MJ.
want Bron.
I want
Bron
MJ.
will take a
No,
bunch.
no,
When
that's not-
MJ had a
that's not
bunch
good
of scrubs,
decision.
he was not getting past them.
Take
them
him to the
Pistons,
top.
bro.
That's not a good
That's right.
decision.
Dude,
That's not a good
LeBron
decision.
Take him all
But the question, hold on.
takes scrubs
But
to
Pastor
the
Green.
finals.
But Pastor Green, who did LeBron have to beat to
Consistently.
get to the finals? With these
Nobody.
scrubs.
Nobody.
Did
The-
He had. I'm just gonna throw it out. He had to beat the George Paul Pacers. He had to beat. Who
What
else
about
did
the
he have
big?
to beat?
What about the big three Celtics?
The little.
Yeah, but they were old.
Raptors.
He didn't beat them.
What
He
about the
didn't
big
beat
three?
them.
What about the big three Celtics? What about that Pistons team with Rasheed
They were
Wallace,
all old.
Chauncey?
They
That whole
peaked and then fell off fast, bro.
3 years in a row.
They
Yo,
peaked and
even when
fell
he
off
got
fast.
past
They
that
hit a
Toronto-
wall.
Thank you. Who's Booby Gibson? Thank you.
Dude, when
That's
he
what I'm
got
talking about.
past Toronto that last year, bro, he took a bunch of misfits to the finals.
Who was on
Bro,
Toronto that
He
year?
did.
Yo, that
He
was
did.
dude. That year, bro, Kyrie had gone, and we saw how Kyrie went. You know, Kyrie, he's just always just doing whatever
Who was on
crazy it
Toronto?
is. Bro, Bron took a bunch of scrubs to the
Let me
finals.
jump in
And
here.
So I'm just saying, if
Shay,
we had to choose, you're not picking
Let me-
Jordan. You
let me-
picking LeBron.
I'm
LeBron's
picking
gonna get
Jordan
you points,
all day.
rebounds,
I'm picking
assists.
Jordan.
He's gonna
With my
impact
eyes
that game,
closed.
brother.
Listen, the game has changed so much since
Thank you.
when before LeBron came to Miami. Like teams were not constructed as they were as they are now. teams had a superstar and a supporter, except for the Bostons and LA.
You mean the teams that were winning every year?
Yeah, correct. And that's why he couldn't beat Cleveland. I mean, the Celtics. I'm not mad that he left. All right. I know I'll be talking, right? I ain't mad that he left. He had to leave. But there's no way I'm picking LeBron with a team of scrubs, because he has his best asset is his basketball IQ. And he would have nobody to pass the ball to. And that's why he had to leave Cleveland.
But that's the genius of LeBron.
Hold on.
That's the genius.
If you're talking about taking a team to the finals, yeah, you can pick LeBron. But if you're talking about a championship team,
isn't there a difference there?
There's a
Getting
difference.
to the finals and winning the finals.
Because he got to the finals with that Cleveland team with nobody. But what happened?
But I think Green's point
can I
is
jump
that
in real quick?
to get that team
But
to the
did
finals.
MJ ever get to the finals with the scrub team he had?
And I'm about to answer that question.
So does the context?
The voice of WOCG, Damian Malone. I don't know what it's called now, but it used to be WOCG when I was there back in the day.
WJOU.
JOU, man.
Thank you. Thank you for the alley hoop. So Damian Malone from Miami says MJ drug a bunch of scrubs to the playoffs after being hurt most of the year, and then personally assaulted the HOA field, Hall of Fame field Celtics. And so that goes back to what Shay and JD were saying. So we're all in agreement.
Look, man,
that Jordan team that he's talking about that he drug to the playoffs, they got beat in the first round. Like, I mean, that's not equivalent at all.
You're not proving anything with that point, bro.
Go
back to the drawing board. Go back to the drawing board, man.
He was basically saying that I guess the point that Malone is making is that LeBron, we can't keep utilizing the same argument that LeBron is going to the playoffs with a whole bunch of nobodies, because MJ did the same thing as well. And he's saying that MJ did the same thing.
Man.
I got a question. I got a question. We
love you, Malone, but go back to the drawing board.
It depends on what advanced metric you use. If you want to deal with the PER,
come on now,
plus minus, Jordan wins over LeBron.
Come on.
Consider those advanced statistics.
Hey, JD, I don't know about advanced metrics. All I know is 4 points, more rebounds,
I got a question.
more block shots. And
he definitely got more assists.
Even this idea of LeBron's finals records. Again, I'm going racial here. This is the world. This is like going on here.
Here we go.
Listen. Hold on. No, real talk. No, I'm not going to go racial. I'm just going to say contextual. A person's finals record, that was never, ever mentioned except to criticize LeBron James. Doggone Jerry West was 1-8 in the NBA Finals, and he is the logo named Mr. Clutch. There is no way you can give somebody credit for being beaten earlier in the playoffs. Then you give a guy, the argument is either you won, Magic lost 4 finals, but the conversation is he won 5 rings. Kobe lost twice in the finals, but the conversation is he won 5 rings. Nobody brings up John Elway losing 3 simple Super Bowls, because when you come through and you win, it's just like, how many rings do you have? So like this idea that
is 4 more than 6?
No. I agree. But I'm saying
those percentages matter.
6 versus 4, as opposed to how many times he lost in the finals. So I can hear that argument. But I'm saying, the argument that he lost so many times in the finals, when Jordan was just going home in the first round or the second round and couldn't make it, that's maybe an argument to me.
I don't think I'm struggling because I don't think it's 4 versus 6, man. I still think we take it out of context. LeBron got cryotherapy. He got advanced therapies. He can play longer. He can come back from injury sooner. Jordan was roughing it in an age where you could punch a man in the mouth and keep
Jordan was smoking cigars, drinking beer
exactly. And look at his body.
That's the point he's making.
Hey, look. LeBron was following the health message for the most part.
Here we go. I can't do it.
I'll say this.
Let me ask you this. Diet.
New start, baby.
Hey, y'all saw your boy Jordan's eyes was bloodshot red on the last.
We saw LeBron smoking a cigar last night too. Let's apply that across the board.
The occasional misdeed or good deed, man.
He can do no wrong. He can do no wrong.
So I guess we have to agree to disagree.
Nah.
We don't know who the greatest of all time is. Is the consensus on the show tonight? We don't know.
I'm surprised. Let me say this. Let me say this.
Have we seen a better combination of skills? That's all I'm saying. A better combination of skills.
But that's. I don't think that's what the greatest of all time needs to be. I think at the end of the day, if your scoring is here, and his everything is here, and Jordan's rebounding is here, Jordan still was an all defensive team player also, right? So we're not talking about.
And he had Pippen and
more
Rodgers.
MVPs, more defensive play. He was more MVPs, more NBA Finals MVPs. I mean, there are. Go ahead, Shay.
How are we going to act like the East wasn't trash for all of those years? How are we not going to act like every year he went to the finals in Cleveland?
It is what it is.
Yeah.
That the teams with the best records almost always outside of Cleveland, beating a whole bunch of nobodies. The West always had more competition.
What stud team did Jordan beat in the East during
Miami,
the
Pacers,
championship run?
The Pacers, Miami.
Every year there was a battle.
None of those teams that you're describing are all-time teams. The Pacers, the Knicks.
They're not all-time because they faced Jordan, though.
But
they have a chance to become all-time.
They would have legitimacy
because they played against Michael.
Or the Heat or the Knicks won during the
Pistons. They didn't get a chance.
We could not win. We played against Jordan.
Jordan left after the first retirement or the second. They didn't do nothing. They didn't make it nowhere.
All right, yo, I think we got to segue, but I think this will be a good point to segue on. One of the things we didn't mention, and I know we were just talking about it on the court. I know I got to say this quickly.
Don't take it off the court.
No.
I can't believe y'all get switched up on.
Let me just say this one thing. Now, but for real though, one of the reasons why LeBron does get treated the way he does, though, and this is be real, as a black man, the empowerment that he has brought to the players,
he's the GOAT in that.
The control that he has seized. These owners, they do not like it.
Yeah.
I mean, this man has taken his destiny in his own hands, and he's empowered all of our brothers in the league to do the same. So I'm just saying, look, if you're talking about, man, just empowerment. I didn't even bring in social. I'm not even talking about social issues. I'm just talking about what he's done in the league for us, bro. He's the GOAT.
Was he able to do those things because Jordan opened the door and paved the way?
What number did LeBron wear?
No, I wasn't sure because when Magic and Bird came to the scene, that rivalry brought it. NBA was rising. And then when Jordan came on the scene, and then he had that metamorphosis. He was wearing the chain at first, but then he put the suit on, and now he took it to a global brand. So there is some credit.
Somebody paved the way.
JD, you watched some video, didn't you?
Somebody paved the way.
Guys.
Yo.
So,
JD, have you not been with your father, man? Have you not been with him so long? Nothing.
The NBA has an award for off the court work. The NBA has an award for off the court work. You can give it to LeBron, but it's not the GOAT.
I'm just gonna say this, and it is what it is.
Boogie speaking truth on the thread, man.
I saw that, man.
What's LeBron's number? He wears 23 for a reason, y'all. He
what
wears
did K Boogie
23 for a reason. All right.
Jordan wasn't about that last.
Hey, that's your final argument. The number he wore.
Right.
It's a person who gave him everything he had. I mean, he paved the way for this man.
Listen,
right,
man.
You know why he couldn't be a Jordan? Because he doesn't have the skill set.
Ooh.
LeBron James has two moves: a blow by and a spin. That's
and
it.
the spin is a travel. So let's just get that out of the way.
That's it. He's a bully. Let's be honest. He's a bully on the court. He's a bully on the court. And if we're gonna give bullies, and physical ability, then Wilt might as well be the greatest.
Kareem is
Kareem might as well be the greatest.
But you know that actually LeBron has a higher 3-point shooting percentage than Michael Jordan.
He didn't have to shoot threes.
Hey, y'all, just real quick. One of our members, man, Vera Clemens, she's dropping weighty truth tonight. She said you can pave the way.
Listen,
and the student be greater than the teacher. Come on, she's been under this first church. She's been under this first church anointing. Amen.
Green,
the Holy Ghost is on that woman.
She loves that pastor. She loves it.
Come on, Vera, speak that truth, man.
We need revival down in Huntsville.
Listen to what George said. There's some people, no matter what the pastor says.
Exactly.
No.
We need revival. We need revival. We need revival.
She's under that first church anointing. Amen.
Yeah, amen.
Hey, Shay, I'm sorry, I got to jump in, man. Last thing I'll say, dude, LeBron is on the Lakers, bro. He's a goat in my mind right now. Listen,
hey, you know what? Dr. Dargett.
What? You know what? It's LA. It's that Cali.
It's LA thing.
You can't trust y'all.
LA, Doc.
I called y'all.
Listen,
we had a whole conversation.
Shay, the reason why you're the only right. The reason why the church down in Huntsville is doing well is because you're part of that staff. You're holding it down for Florida. I love you, my brother. I love you, man. It's good. Hold it down. Hold it down for Miami.
Let me step into another realm. It bothers me. All right. It bothers me.
Serious.
To my core.
Uh-oh.
Now I got Floridians on here. I got Floridians on here that would leave their state, the great state of Florida, with all the athletes and all the teams we have, and you all just jump around from Miami to Cleveland to LA. Y'all ain't got no standards, man.
Shay, the only problem with that is you just left Florida to come be with us here.
Ministry. I prayed about my decision. Hey.
Yo,
I prayed about my decision.
Shay, shut it down, Doc. Yo, that was a checkmate, bro.
It was not. It was not.
Doc, you here with us? You here with us in Alabama, man?
Right now, he's bringing righteousness back to Alabama.
I prayed about my decision, man. Did y'all pray before y'all joined the King, man?
He's bringing back godliness back to Huntsville.
Bro, you with us here in Huntsville, Alabama, man.
Hey, listen, doing the Lord's work. If you think Jordan is better, I'm not mad. All I'm saying is when we make it seem like it's no discussion, no debate, I think it's too far. And when we say there's nothing LeBron can do to be the greatest, even though
anybody on this panel thinks that way.
No. I'm just saying, by and large, there is that sentiment out there. It just shows you made up your mind before all of the evidence has been entered in for consideration. So, but I just think that part of the Jordan allure is you got to admit, though, it's like some people may say, if you ask your favorite running back, is it Emmett or Barry Sanders? For me, it's Barry, but it's because I like the way he moved, the way he ran the ball. And I think that's part of Jordan's appeal. It's just the way he played, not necessarily just overall effect.
I like what he did there, right?
He did. He's very good with his words. You gotta be careful.
He preached that. He preached to start out, and he came with the appeal. You see,
very good. He's very good with his words.
Listen, man. Before we go to the shoe reveals, can we just we want to admonish everybody, especially now. Certain states, voting has already begun. You can do early voting. You can cast your ballot by mail, but for sure, make sure that by November 3rd or on November 3rd, you cast your ballots. Voting does make a difference. It does matter. And we're just asking everybody to do their part as we go into this election season. Also, as always, we always want to remember to give a shout out to Breonna Taylor. We're hoping for justice. And so we're praying and hoping for justice. And like her parents, like her mother said, we won't stop until justice is in fact served. And so we want to just thank everybody. Real quick, we want to give a shout out to Keisha Creates Customs. Keisha Create Customs. She makes these beautiful custom shirts, and I'm wearing one of them today. She can customize your COVID-19 mask. She can do some dope designs, and so we just want to make sure that you give her a check on. You can find her on Instagram, Keisha Creates Custom, and you want to make sure you give her just a look to see what she got going on. And tonight, as a matter of fact, tonight, I don't know how we're going to do this, but tonight we actually have a shirt that we want to give away. Croc Kicks, are you going to give them? Are you going to put it out there while we're so that we can see if anyone's going to win while we are doing the shoe reveal? But we have this shirt, and Croc Kicks is going to tell us how we're going to give it away.
Yeah, come on, Croc Kicks.
All right, we're gonna make this real simple this week. All right,
You got it.
Do it easy. Do it easy. Last week was
All
a lot
we
of
want. The very first person to type into the comment section one of the shoes that we previewed last week that we're dropping this week. One of the shoes. There were several shoes that we talked about. We laid before you all. We previewed. If you could just put in the comment section one of those shoes, the first comment that appears in our feed is going to be the recipient of this t-shirt. All right. Any of the shoes that dropped last week that we talked about. Matter of fact,
I don't even remember the shoes.
Gio had a personal pair of one of the shoes. All right. I gave you a little hint.
Yeah.
And while we're waiting for that to hit, I do want to say this was a very fitting ending to the NBA season. I do think that not only did the best team win, but in all seriousness, I think this was a beautiful thing for the city of Los Angeles. I really do. With all the things that they have gone through, with the loss of Kobe, I felt like this was very fitting, and I'm actually happy for the city. It was a great job, and my hat goes off to the Lakers.
Look at you being a bigger
team.
man.
The Lakers as a team.
Wow.
Man,
proud of you,
LeBron.
Wow.
That was very
I'm
very
proud,
good.
Yeah.
Man.
The Lord is
seemed real,
working.
too.
No, for real. I think we ought to for real clap for Shay though.
Hey man, I'm not.
And so some guys have some shoes out there. I saw Pastor Snell has some shoes. Pastor Green has some
Well, your
shoes. I see
segue
behind,
game.
I see behind Dr. Doggett. I saw a shoe. I thought I saw a shoe. And I know JD has some slides he's gonna pull out. Come on now.
right, so
and then Shay, I know Shay has a reveal he wants to do.
Ooh,
So we'll go.
Doc.
All right.
little
Rocking the
Yeezys.
Yeezys.
Oh, whoa, Doc, hold up.
350
Whoa.
Little
boots.
Heat.
All right.
Oh, okay, Doc. Came with the heat tonight.
What you got? What you got, Green? What you got, Doc?
Yo,
Dr. Green.
just
Come
in
get
honor,
some RA, by the way. That's my RA.
In
So
honor
he
of the
knows-
championship, I got these Laker 13s.
Nice.
Got these
They're not
Laker
Laker-
13s,
they-
man. Just in
They,
honor.
they look navy blue though.
Nah, these are purple. They're purple.
All right.
It's just, I guess it's just the.
No, I'm
the
just
camera.
kidding. I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah.
being petty.
Pastor Snell.
All right, Pastor Snell.
Well, listen, man. I just thought in honor of
Of one of the greatest.
let's do the LeBron 13s and along with the,
All the LeBrons.
here.
How many LeBrons do you need, Doc?
All the LeBrons.
Yeah. So I'm just going to do a little LeBron. That's what it is.
In
Just-
Florida. I like it.
Oh, man.
Yeah, man. And I'm gonna share the shoe that got me in trouble this week. I forgot. My wife is following me now on social media, so she saw that I got these shoes, man. These are Air Max 95 Denhams.
Your boy Shay, man.
Yes,
Denims,
sir.
Denhams. Black denim on that.
Those are hot.
It's pretty plush.
Okay.
The Volt Nike Volt color popping through. Love the shoe, and I'm in a doghouse because of the shoe.
Am I the anchor leg?
What you got,
Yes, sir.
man? What you got,
Bring it on,
man?
Bring it on, bring it on.
You get my heat. You get that heat, JD. What's up?
That convertible.
Y'all,
Let's see them
I
convertibles.
came through with the Nike slides.
But the
tonight.
check,
Let's
the
go,
check
let's
is
go.
dusty though.
Yeah.
So you should have wiped it, at least wipe it off.
You could have,
Hey, come on,
you
man.
could have got some white out on that joker or something.
Oh, my
Yeah,
God.
All the
no,
Clorox wipes around.
These are the most comfortable shoes you will ever wear, and I'm very, very proud of these. So I wanted to throw these up as we're concluding
Closing
tonight.
out.
Hey,
Yeah,
man,
thank you
yo,
guys
J-
for allowing me to be the anchor leg tonight.
Hey man, you can tell, man. JD's close to the Lord, man. He got those humble slides on, man. He's following in the footsteps of Jesus, man.
That's it. I just want to be like him. That's it. Oh man, y'all got me crying tonight. LeBron's the GOAT. I'm sorry, I didn't come in here thinking that, but he's the GOAT. He just
hold on.
That segment is over. That segment
we have learned tonight,
man. Keep him out.
We've learned that we've learned that the Doc Snell is able to convert. I mean, a lot of people came in tonight. Man. I mean, to be honest with you, I really don't like LeBron, but I can now at least say I'm open to the possibility that perhaps one day.
This is why I'm a member
in the distant future.
Look at your boy Shay's face right now.
In the distant future, he may be considered amongst.
Well, I don't argue that. I think he's in line. I don't argue that point. I don't argue against. I don't disagree with that. I think the conversation is a very real conversation. I think him and Kobe. I'll put him and Kobe right there, and I got George just a little bit above them.
What happens if he wins a championship next year?
He's not going.
Depends on who he plays against. I mean, let's be honest. This Miami team he played against, they weren't a great team.
Got 3 rookies, man.
Come on,
rookies playing.
Come on, y'all.
Minutes.
What about
Come
the
on,
San
y'all.
Antonio Spurs?
Come on, y'all. It should have been a sweep. It should have been a sweep. It should have been a sweep.
What about that Oklahoma City team that had 3 league MVPs on it? What about the 70-win Golden State? Like, he can't win for beating a great team. He can't win for beating a team. Like,
I say he's in the conversation, y'all, but come on, this wasn't. Did anybody really think Miami was going to win? Come on, y'all. Come on. This was.
Hey, y'all see Ansel? He said, "Yo, Snell didn't even need the organ to get George down the aisle." Man.
I believe, baby. I believe.
I'm the only one that's standing on my own, man. I mean, man.
He didn't even have to be like, "Who believes the word of God? Who believes the word of God?"
Me and KP, man.
Agree. Shay is the gripper right now.
My heart is hardened. My heart is hardened.
Go Jays, baby.
Green.
Go Jays.
I am green fruit.
LA all day. Go
right,
Jays.
So any closing thoughts, KP?
Yeah, man. So I remember back in the day, I think we just did Kicking. We did It. Thank you, gentlemen, for kicking it with us. And now we're just going to end up with our 316, our Come to Jesus moment. Michael Jordan is the greatest, despite what these fellas say on the line tonight. I remember growing up, everybody wanted to be like him. And we used to try to be like him by doing the things that, we could do. We put our tongue out our mouth. We spread our legs. When we went for a layup, we clapped the backboard because some of us couldn't dunk. You know what I'm saying? But we want to be like Mike. I don't know if y'all remember the commercials. I got to be like Mike. Want to be like Mike. And the reality is that even though Michael Jordan is the greatest or possibly the greatest based on these gentlemen tonight, that there's one that is greater. And you don't got to put your tongue out your mouth to be like him. You don't got to try to work to be like him. But the Bible says, man, let this mind be in you, which is also in Christ Jesus. Who thought it not robbery to make himself like God, but humbled himself, took on the role of a servant, died even the death of the cross. And the Bible goes on to say that because of what he did, that God now elevates him and gives him a name, man. And at his name, every knee will bow and every tongue will confess. And that's the Mike that we want you all to go after, the real GOAT, Jesus Christ, man, the Michael from Galilee. So,
yes, sir.
Amen. We thank you for that 316 word. Thanks to our esteemed guests, man. Even though some of y'all are shaky, shaky.
You're shaky, I'm shaky.
Shaky, dog.
Talk to JD.
We're grateful, man.
Y'all.
We know you all have busy schedules, and you all took time to kick it with us. I know we're grateful. I know the viewers are grateful, man. And we just ask the Lord that He would just richly bless you all, man, in spite of who you serve, man. In spite of who you serve. All right. Gio, take us out, man.
Part 2.
First of all, where